It's time for another edition of Saturday with Seniors, brought to you always by the local branches of First Citizens Community Bank, FCCB, the offices in Mansfield, Wellsboro, and Blossburg. And they've been serving our community for over 150 years and proudly sponsor our Saturday with Seniors program. And today we have George Schweigart joining us. Schweigart, did I say your name correctly, George?
That's right, George Schweigart Jr.
All right. Well, I know you from Sunday Night Oldies. You call in, you're always a character, and I thought you must have some kind of story in your life. So we invited you in for Saturday with Seniors. And you've got some musical background we'll be talking about. Mac Wiseman, really an interesting person that you performed with, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's go back to when you were born. What, 1946 is when you came onto this earth?
1952.
1952 you were born on this earth. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Charles Cole Memorial Hospital in Coudersport, Pennsylvania.
All right. And you like that term, Pennsylvania. I hear you using that a lot.
That's my saying for many of years.
All right. I'm sure we'll hear it again some more today. So what did your parents do for work in the early days? Do you know what were your parents' first full-time jobs?
My father, he went to work in Corning Glass Works when he was a very young fellow. And then he went into the Marine Corps, served his 4 years in the Marines, and then he served 6 years in the Air Force. And then he come back home and went back to work to Corning Glass Works as a journeyman millwright welder.
So tell me about, you went to school, where'd you go to school, your elementary school?
Elementary school in Harrison Valley, Pennsylvania, and elementary school in Ulysses and Northern Potter High School.
How big were these schools that you went to? Were these full-size schools or were these little one-room schoolhouses?
No, they were all full-size schools.
And what do you remember about school? Tell me about what were some of the things about school that would interest people.
Oh, I went to school with some wonderful, wonderful people. Matter of fact, we had our 50th class reunion here about 3 weeks ago, and I got to see a young lady that was kind of my high school sweetheart. Her name was Judy Barnett. And we had a wonderful visit for about 3 hours that day. But there was a lot of other good children that I went to school with, wonderful people. It was so good to see them for the 50th anniversary.
So some of these people you hadn't seen since school.
A few of them I have seen that's still around the area, but a lot of them moved away to California, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, all over.
So you were telling me before we went on the air, back when you were 5 years old, one of your earliest childhood memories, and it's kind of a tragic memory, was a barn fire that happened.
Yes, correct. I was 5 years old, and I remember looking out our living room window at our barn burning late at night, our dairy farm. Our barn burnt, and after the firemen got the barn put out the next day, they found a gentleman in the barn, and they figured that he was a bum walking and needed a place to sleep, and he went in our hay mow and laid down, fell to sleep, and he had a cigarette in his hand, and he burned our barn down.
Wow, and lost his life from that. That
He did.
Must have been something that shook you up quite a bit, I imagine.
Yes, it was a pretty serious offense. It was very, very heartbreaking, the old gentleman. I really don't remember how old he was, but they figured that he was a bum walking anyway.
Yeah. So music's a big part of your life. Were your parents into music when you were a kid, or is this something you picked up on your own?
No, my parents all played. We had a family band, the Schweigart's family band, and I started playing guitar when I was about, I think, 6 years old, and I can remember my father taking me down to Osceola, Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania. It was a bar named Yogi Bear's, and on Friday night, he'd take me down there and stand me on a table and open the guitar case, hand me his guitar. I would play the guitar and sing a song called This Old House. And people in the bar would come over and put money in the guitar case for me. I remember that very well. And I played music pretty much all of my life. From then on, I picked up the guitar, the mandolin, piano, accordion. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guitar Joe. It's a cross between a guitar and a banjo. I play it. I pretty much played all of my life, and I still play yet today. Matter of fact, my last band that I played with, our lead guitar picker, he was a professional lead guitar picker. He played anything with strings on it. He played with a lot of professionals in Nashville, Tennessee. He backed a lot of professionals. His name was Ray London from Canasteo, New York, and he died about a year ago with the COVID. But when I was younger, we met Mac Wiseman. My family band was playing in the Countersport radio station. We played every Saturday from 1 in the afternoon to 2 for 1 hour. And one day we was in there playing music, and this great big heavy-set gentleman come to the window and was watching us play. And when we finished at 2 o'clock, I said to my father, "Did you see that gentleman come to the window and look in here at us?" And he said, "Yes." I said, well, he looked familiar. And my father said, "Well, he ought to." He said, "That's Mac Wiseman." Wow. What a deal that was. Well, I wound up getting to play with him a little bit. We played at my Uncle Bill's house, and I played right along with him. Then he hired my family band to play music for him at the Countersport Consistory building because the band that he had coming that Saturday to play for him was grounded because of bad winter snow, and the airplane was grounded, so his band couldn't come, so he hired my family band to play music for him at the Consistory building. And other than that, yes, I have played in bars. I have played in old folks' home for senior citizens ever since. And I went to bluegrass festivals, country and western jamborees, and I've enjoyed every minute of it all my life. I love music. But anyway, I'll get back to you. You can ask me the questions, and I'll try to answer.
Sure. So for those that don't know what Mac Wiseman is, he was co-founder of the CMA, Country Music Association, which everyone knows that name. The Ballad of David Crockett, he had a top 10 hit with that. And Jimmy Brown, the Newsboy, in 1959, he had a number 5 hit. So that's, he's a charting guy and very prominent songwriter. So really kind of some neat stuff. In your earlier days of playing, were you in the bars of the area? I've always wondered what it was like to be in a Tioga County bar in the 50s and 60s, when music was playing, or was that not an area that your band played?
Yes, I played in Potter, Tioga, both. I started out playing music in West Pike. It was called Pikeview Inn. And
That's just the other side of Galton we're talking about, for those that don't know where Pike is. Towards Larry Sports Center, but not as far.
That's correct. I played music there in several different bands in my younger years. It was fun. I played in a lot of bars and honky-tonks and hotels, you name it.
What were times like then? Was it busier when bands came out? Things have certainly changed since I've lived in Tioga County since 1995. And, when I came here, pretty much every Friday or Saturday night, there was a band playing somewhere that you could go see in Tioga County. Those days seem to be gone. They're here and there, hit or miss. But was there more of a demand for a band? These are before the days of karaoke and DJs. It was more bands then, right?
Back then, it was bands no matter where you went, and it was all old country. Not none of the new stuff much. It was pretty much old country music, and that's kind of faded away. Once in a while, somebody will want country music played at a wedding or something like that. But, that stuff has really faded away really bad, and I hate to see it because I'm a great lover of old country and old bluegrass. None of the progressive stuff. Old stuff is what I like.
So, and that's hence your Sunday Night Oldies regular listener on the station here.
That's correct. That's why I always ask for Mac Wiseman or Grandpa Jones, Stonewall Jackson, Farron Young, stuff like that.
Yep, some of our artists from the past that, unfortunately, a younger generation, we would try to keep it alive on Sunday Night Oldies, but if nobody does, wonderful. Who knows, Yes, sir, that's wonderful. So let's hear a little bit about your work career. You loved music. Tell me about your schooling, and you dropped out of school, I guess, a little bit early in life because sometimes life has these turns.
That's correct. My mother, she remarried a gentleman named Arnold Perkins, and they lived in New Jersey on a big fruit farm down there, and he got a terrible infection in his ear, and it killed him. So she moved back here, but times were hard back then, and my mother had no place to live. And I was 13 years old. I quit school. I went to work on a farm for a lady named Ella Swank in Ulysses. I run her whole dairy farm for about a year, and it had an apartment on it, and I got the apartment for part of my pay for the working on the farm. So my mother and little sister and 2 younger brothers had a place to live. And when I left there, I got the chance to meet up with a young lady by the name of Charlotte Tubbs from Sunderlandville, Pennsylvania. And we fell in love and we got married. And we had 3 wonderful children, a son, Aaron, a daughter, Desta, and a younger daughter, Carissa. And I went to work in Corning Glass Works I served time there in school. I got all of my school. I got my diploma through Corning Glass Works. And I started an apprenticeship. I went through a 4-year apprenticeship and become a journeyman welder. And I got my pension time in. I froze my pension rights and I walked out the door. And I got a chance to go into commercial x-ray on high-pressure vessels on the pipelines. And I become a level 1 technician, a helper, what they called them. I done that for 3 years, and I got a chance to break out as a level 2 technician operator. I done that all over the United States, and I got my pension time in for that. And then once I got my pension time in, I had to quit because I had 5 strokes, and then I had a heart attack the following year. And I have diabetes. My health got pretty bad. I still play music, but the work ended then in 2002, and I retired with a pension and Social Security, and everything turned out for the best. My children's all grown up, all working, and they all have their families. Each one of my children had 1 boy and 1 girl, and they all have a wonderful family. But my life is carried on. I've been married to my wonderful wife. This will be the 50th year. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. I probably wouldn't be on this earth today if it weren't for my wife.
Well, those are very kind words to say. 50 years. So what kind of advice do you have for people? Because I don't know how many of today's generation are going to make it to 50 years. And they should, obviously, because it'd be awesome if they did.
That's correct. I guess the best thing I can tell them is if you want to stay with that same old girl for 50 years, don't drink a lot of whiskey and beer and get in trouble. Keep yourself sober. Go to church. Make good friends with church people. It's all right to make good friends with drinkers, but don't go to the bar with them because that causes a lot of friction in married life. I know a lot of people, it's my age, that has been married 2 and 3 times, 4 times, matter of fact, it's some. And if you want to stick with that wonderful lady that you loved when you was young for 50 years, hold her, hug her, kiss her, hold your children, hug them, grandbabies, hug them, all you can hug them, because all of a sudden you're not going to be here and the hugging days are going to be all gone. And if you want to stay with her for 50 years, keep on hugging her, boys. God bless you.
You got to remember what's important in life. And I don't know, my feeling is your generation had a better appreciation of what's important in life, family and those type of things, versus I fear that today's generation may be missing out a little bit.
That's correct.
All right. I think you agree with me on that. Well, George, we appreciate you sharing our story with us. Anything we want to cover that we didn't cover here?
I guess not, other than the music on Sunday. I love the music. My wife loves it. And I really enjoy calling and putting a song out, especially for a young lady. Her maiden name was Crystal Monroe, and she married a wonderful man. His name was Jimmy Thorne, and he passed away, and he was a good musician and a good friend. And Crystal is a cousin of my wife, and we've been friends for many years. She used to come to Pikeview and listen to me play music, and she was always on the dance floor.
And she calls in on Sunday Night Oldies, right? That's the right Crystal I'm thinking of?
That's correct. That's the Crystal.
Well, very neat. It's a small world here.
Yes.
All right. Well, you've been listening to Saturday with Seniors, brought to you by FCCB's local offices in Tioga, Wellsboro, Mansfield, and Blossburg. And if you missed any of today's program or you want to hear any of our past programs, you can go to our website, kc101fm.com, and just click on the Saturday with Seniors link. They'll take you to our YouTube page. And again, thank you to local branches in Mansfield, Wellsboro, and Blossburg for First Citizens Community Bank for sponsoring another edition, serving our community for over 150 years. It's FCCB.